Good day, brothers and sisters, and we are grateful to you. We are grateful for you, and we are grateful in general. And that's the point of today's show, being grateful, because grateful is opposite of resentment, opposite of bitterness, opposite of anger, opposite of fear of the things not being the way you want them to be, and you're focusing on the past and you're focusing on the future and not being in the moment. But right now, we are grateful, and that's why we are being in the moment. Rom, without further ado, how you doing today?
I'm good, my brother. Extremely grateful, as the title of the show is. I'm extremely grateful to be here amongst peers and legends.
Yeah, and obviously our co-host and the legend on its own, Glenn Herring here at the Glenn Zone with Alex Saz at Saz Show. Glenn, how you doing today?
Oh, very good. It's a pleasure to be here with my brothers, two big men. One 7 feet, another one 6 foot.
6'6".
6'6". And it's not just their imposing size and height. It's what they stand for, and it's a pleasure to be with in a wolf pack with real men.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's no secret that me and Rome played basketball, and everywhere I go, people ask me that question, and I always tell them. I always ask them, is it because I'm black? Rome, do you have that kind of problem too?
A little bit, yeah. Not as much as you, I'm sure.
But to be fair, Rome, it is a common question that I'm being asked, actually. But how do you deal with this question? A lot of people ask me that, and how do you deal with people just coming up to you and asking, how tall are you? And do you play basketball? And then ask you, don't you get upset over this? Don't you want to go about your business and all that stuff? How do you deal with that?
See, I could tell you go through it more than me. Nah, it doesn't get me upset at all. I understand that they just want to forge a conversation and just, start by saying something. I go with it. You know what I mean? I tell them a number. I tell them my height. Do you play ball? Yeah, I used to. You know what I'm saying? And then they're like, why'd you stop? I said, because I'm older now. It's over. Well, how old are you? You look, and then we separate ways like that.
Well, it's all because it's also racist, right? Because of all the melatonin you have in your skin, right?
No, but it sounds like just a way for people to get in. They're a little bit caught off guard. I see them doing that to you, Alex, in the gym. They just look at you, and it's quite imposing, a 7 feet guy. So of course, the first question they're going to ask, and that's what you mean when you hear it all the time. It's like repetitive, but it's a different person just trying to make a connection with you. So that's the way you have to take it.
Absolutely. And we can't, how could I say this without being offensive? We can't calculate people's ignorance to the years of the basketball lifespan. People see you're 7 feet, brother. It don't matter if you're 50. You should be playing.
You should be playing regardless of what. Yeah.
Look at you. Your knees don't hurt. You're walking, right? Play.
But also the point is, I'm glad you both brought this up. It is a gift.
Yes.
The height is a gift. And the way you can use it, it's up to you. But it's the gift that's given to you by God that you can multiply it. And, I have some tall people, friends, or actually a lot, believe it or not. And I'm friends with the tallest person in UK. He'll be a guest on this show. His name is Paul Sturgis. He's 7'7". I'm friends with the tallest person in Australia. He's 7'3". And they all have their own life experiences, and they're using the height not just to play basketball, but to actually, as a gift to where they can be reachable or reach out to people. I use it as a gift where I walk through the street, on the street, and anywhere else, and people, like you said, connect. They look at you, they talk to you, they ask you questions. It's a gift. How many of you, brothers and sisters, go through your daily life and wish that someone talked to you? Somebody paid attention to you. Somebody
That's
connected
right.
with you.
That's right.
I don't have that problem, but I also have this opportunity to connect with them further on the different questions. Like, oh, all those are good questions. You know, do I play basketball? What I eat? What I sleep? What I drive? And all that stuff. But do you know Jesus? Right? So opens up the whole can of worms. Or I could be a salesman. It's all great, but can I sell you a membership to something? Right? So you have to use this opportunity and take advantage of this height. And in my case, Rome, I played basketball since very young age because I was part of the Soviet Olympic training program. When did you start playing ball?
I started playing ball maybe a year before I met you.
Really?
Really? So I played at Sun Youth. I played 1 year at Sun Youth before you came in.
And that was, you were pretty good back then. So you were very skillful, athletic.
I was a work in progress, I would say.
But we were like, we had to be one of the better teams at that time. That was 95 when I met you.
Correct. 95. There's a banner up with our names on it. Absolutely.
There is?
Absolutely.
So I can go check it out?
You know, they got us out of the building, so Sun Youth no longer has the building. But, you know, before we were put out of there, we definitely put up a banner for provincials.
Oh, so
provincial champs.
let's tell audience what is Sun Youth. Sun Youth is an organization.
Yes. Sun Youth is an organization that at the time and still to this day, you know, ran so many programs, sports programs, basketball, football, you know, even girls basketball, all types of sports that Sun Youth, you know, put the uniforms on and made it possible for kids to play and participate in inner city sports.
And then, but it was also preparatory. Like our team, a lot of guys went to play on to further their careers in basketball. Right, we were good enough in this program.
Absolutely, Sun Youth was, you know, Sun Youth is a place where if you excel and you do your thing how you're supposed to do it, there'll be some doors open for you because Sun Youth would take trips down south a lot. So they will make sure you're seen.
So after that, shortly after that, where did you go? Like, did you go into United States?
Shortly after Sun Youth, well, not after Sun Youth, I was still at Sun Youth, and they might have held a grudge against me for that because I was still there. I still had eligibility there, and I went away for a weekend just to visit a high school in Ohio, and I ended up staying.
And did you like it?
I loved it.
Tell me about that experience.
Youngstown, Ohio is my home. I love the city. I love the people. I have family there. It was an inner city school. My coach was extremely rough on me because he asked me a question before I got there. He asked me what I wanted to do with this basketball stuff. Where did I want to go? And I think I named every big time school I could think of at the time. I think I named Kentucky, I named Syracuse, I named Connecticut, I named Providence, and I named Michigan State. Coach looked at me and said, okay, you come here, you get to work. Well, I'll make sure these people come for you, but you got to have to work. So I didn't realize the contract I signed. As soon as I got there, I think I got a rebound and I brought the ball down to my chin and, you know, the guards came and got it. He stopped the whole practice. What is you doing? You can't go big time doing shit like that. And then it just became like he just stayed on me every day, and I love him for that, man. Shout out to Coach McGee.
That was hard work, though. Like when a lot of people, when it's like, "Oh, you're so tall, you're so lucky, you can go get this scholarship and go play in United States and all this other stuff," they don't know amount of work you have to put in just to get to that point, and height is not enough just to get you through.
No. Height is there too, right? Height, you know, you're gonna be met with other people with this height as well. You know what I mean? So work ethic has to come in, you know, and you need a little bit of luck too. It's a mix of everything.
Yeah, but the harder you work, the luckier you get. To be the top in any field requires you to work harder and against all the other men that are working hard too. These are your competition, and that's why the true cream, the top of the top, always rises to the top. And good on to you. That's hard work. Yes, that real hard work, it is what distinguishes from the good and the great. From the
Absolutely.
ones who don't make it to the ones that do.
Absolutely.
Well, I got to guess it is your show, Rome, not to be mistaken, but I will talk in comparison to my story. I grew up in Soviet Union, and I start playing early, like much earlier than you do. And then when people are like, well, of course you play basketball because you're so tall, but I have to explain that I didn't grow till I was 15. And I play basketball since I was 6, and I have pictures.
Wow.
I know I have
6.
I have pictures to prove it. Look, I don't know how old am I here, but definitely somewhere around like 10. I'm not, and as you can tell, I'm not really interested in what's going on in the court. There may be some girls that way. That's what it is. But it's a good point, right? Here's my philosophy behind that. Maybe I started too early because by the time I got to my 20s, I played basketball for so long, organized basketball on the highest possible level. I got burnt out mentally, physically. And the idea is I think it's important to raise your children athletic, expose them to all kinds of sports, football, soccer, swimming, martial arts, whatever it is. But also let them be children at the same time, let them develop, but learn discipline at the same time, right? So how can you find this balance as a parent, to each their own? I think that maybe because you started a little bit later in life, that helps you in a way to be a little bit more hungry and not as burned out and stuff. Can you relate to that?
I would say the advantage that I had from starting late, because that's the way I look at things. I don't look at it with disadvantages. I only look at advantages.
Mm-hmm.
The advantage I had was by the time I picked it up, I was sure this is what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I understood, we went to camps and I understood, all right, it's okay. There's a lot of people ahead of me, but what do I have to do repetition wise? If I go to a camp and the coach says, Michael Jordan shoots 500 shots a day and you guys aren't Michael Jordan, so you should be shooting at least 500 shots a day or at least 1,000. I'll take that and I'm like, okay, so my number's 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I'm behind. I started late and I need 2,000 shots. So you know what I mean? Like, you do that for even one summer, that would change your game. So I came in like with a mindset that, hey, I have less time and I'm trying to do everything that it is I wanted to do with this game. So I have to apply myself. So it was no playing around.
Glenn, how's it relatable to resistance training? Because there's age stuff going on there too. Do you recommend any particular age to start resistance training?
No, as long as you're taught right from the get-go. Okay, there's this misconception that you train wrong. Well, it's true that you train wrong, you can impede your growth, or you could tear down some joints that are growing. But you see, the ego, we're all born with an ego, and you should use this ego to make you better at whatever game that is that you want to do. Now, Rome was talking about basketball. Okay, so if somebody did 500 shots and other people do 1,000, well, you know what? I'm going to do 2,000 because I have to catch up. Well, that's you controlling your ego for your advantage. And, that's what it takes. Let's say if everybody else is doing 500 shots and you're doing 4 times as much, well, I don't know if you're going to be 4 times as good, but I can guarantee you're going to be better than everybody else only doing it 500 times.
Yeah, Glenn, look at the picture. Brothers and sisters, it is embarrassing to show you this, but I am 16 years old here, and I just came from the gym zone, Glenn, where you were my first resistance training coach, where you still are my resistance training coach almost 30 years later, right? There is significant difference, right? And it's a bit embarrassing and all this other stuff, of taking the picture like this. But it's just to show you that there is a difference, and it took hard work to get to a certain level, to actually build up the strength, to build up the muscle. It wasn't just all, some people are more naturally prevalent to gaining muscle weight and everything else. My bones grew too fast, too soon. And then the rest of my body had to catch up. And there was a lot of growing pains, You know, I felt anemic for a few years, so I had to go through some adversity. And also, it had affected my basketball career in a way where I had to actually physically take care of my body, and you choose your battles there. Now, going back to you, Rome, you know, speaking of like, oh, you have a glamorous life, you got a scholarship, you're going to Youngstown.
Remember, Youngstown was no scholarship.
Oh,
Yeah, Youngstown, that's public school.
but
Yeah.
how did you? Okay, can you talk about that? Is it something? Is it this public information now? Is something that we can? I'm going to put you on the spot. Is it something we can open up here on Alex Saz Show? The whole recruiting process. Obviously, somebody had to pay for your bus ticket. Somebody had to pay for your stay.
We
somebody
got okay.
Tell me.
So here's how it happened. Obviously, our coach did something he wasn't supposed to do and reached outside of the city limits, actually outside of the north side of Youngstown where he's allowed to enroll from, and spoke to Stanley Williams from Canada, Montreal.
Bird.
Yes, right, a.k.a. Mr. Bird. Bird is a father to me. And they arranged themselves and said, listen, just get him over here. If he just gets over here, we're going to enroll him and make it look like, you know, they just moved over here and just happened to move within these city limits to enroll in this school. And that's how we did it. You know what I mean? We moved that way, and we just went over there, and they, you know, the school had alumni people that were interested in the program and said, hey, we'll be a part of this, and we'll house them and make it look like, a matter of fact, they adopted me. They adopted me over there to make it look completely legit. And the first year I couldn't play, and then once I was able to play, that's it. You know what I mean? It's all she wrote. We was out there. But we were playing in the public school league, which cannot be done again. That's over. I believe the state of Ohio passed a law.
No more
They
recruiting.
took back all the banners we won. They took them all out. Like these guys were illegals.
But is it okay? So is it was what was done? Was it like just the things that you're telling us now? Was that done illegally, kind of thing, or in violation of regulations?
In violation of regulation, because we did not just land in Youngstown, Ohio
By accident.
by accident.
You were recruited.
They did they study, and they said, listen, this guy is. He didn't just come here and enrolled in Youngstown State or just went to. This guy went to the Big East after this. This guy came here for this, So,
Well,
legally, I probably should have went to a prep school or something like that.
I can relate to this because I went to Cardinal O'Hara, is the school on the screen right now, school in Delaware County, Springfield, and this is the school that part of the Catholic League, and Catholic League in Philadelphia is probably one of the premier leagues in United States. It's the top. I don't know if it's the top 10, top 5. I don't know what it is, but it's you got players like Rasul Butler coming out of there.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, rest in peace,
Rasul, yes.
right? So you have a lot of players that went to the NBA. I played. Oh, how many guys went to the league? Quite a bit, actually. And if they didn't go to league, they all went to NCAA. It's a really competitive league. And the same thing, and it was the same thing that you couldn't be recruited. And, I end up there by accident,
right.
Which it wasn't, right? The same thing kind of thing. And I don't know how much we can talk about it here without jeopardizing anybody's careers or anything like this. But I think it's, like you said, it's pretty obvious. Everybody knew. As a matter of fact, it was a big scandal, and a lot of schools complained in the league, like, well, he's obviously got recruited. Right?
Yeah, look at him. He's 7 feet and he's still growing.
He's still growing. Like, he obviously got recruited. Like, how does it? And it's a private school, right? So it obviously, like, I'm a fresh off the boat immigrant, so how can I afford to come to this school?
Gentlemen, because I know Stanley Williams very well from the old days training, and he had that mentality also. Life is like you're in a crowded room, okay? And you have to get from this side to that side as fast as possible. So you are going to step on a few toes now and then.
Well, by all means necessary.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But you're still going to get there. I mean, they put barriers and whatever, and you're not allowed to do this and this. But when you have a will, then there's a way. And that's what I'm saying when you use your ego for the good, because that's the willpower inside of you. You got there no matter what. That takes willpower. And then because you want to get there and you can vision yourself there, then the world manifests, the universe manifests things and people and events to happen. And lo and behold, you're there. So you apply that to other things in your life. This is how to learn how to win, no matter what. Though TWTW, the will to win. It's in each and every one of us. Every man basically can be a king, but very few realize it. By understanding that the will to win is inside of you and you tap into it, there's your first step to getting there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember dreaming it before it even happened, before it even made sense. I was dreaming about it. I knew where I was going.
Well, remember what I said, right? I'm going to be playing somewhere. Like I knew right away. As a matter of fact, brothers and sisters, I think I had an accident because I played sports organized sports from the young age, somewhere around, I don't know, 9, 10 years old. I got my teeth knocked out with a cricket bat. Like, and they were just a fresh teeth. They were permanent teeth already. And it was an accident. It was a misfortune. It was horrible. It was painful. It was scary. It almost killed me. If it was a little bit higher, I probably got some kind of different terrible damage. But as a result, I had to, Joseph was still growing. And as a kid, they put like temporary metal teeth in my mouth because the technology wasn't as good as it now. Not like you can put temporary porcelain or plastic teeth as they do now. And, as you can imagine, I was a subject of ridicule by many kids in the high school, right? Like the young kid with the metal teeth in his mouth. And I didn't care. And what I would tell people then, I was like, look, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be in Hollywood. I'll make myself teeth. I'll be a Hollywood actor. I was 9 years old. How did I know I'm actually going to end up working in Hollywood, becoming a Hollywood actor? You manifest and create your reality, like you said. You have to envision yourself by hook or by crook. And maybe universe gave me this chance because of such adversity like you were going through. You actually had to envision yourself succeed.
You're actually one of the, if not the first person at that age, same age as me, that were talking like this. And I would just look at you like, this guy's serious. Like you came, I remember the day he came to Sun Youth. And it was just like, everybody's talking, oh my God, Alex, Alex, you got to do this now. You got to catch alley-oops. You got to do this, you got to do that. Alex said, I don't have to do anything. I'm going anyway.
Except he had to just fix his teeth.
Said,
that was the most important.
I'm going regardless of what you think. I'm going. I don't know about you, but I'm going. And I was just like listening to him like, yo, this is a kid that believes in himself. I need that. And I did a lot of that. A lot of the people we were around, I would take certain things. Like I'd take your mindset. I would take, this guy got a nice spin move. I'm going to take that. But that mindset, if he had that, with that mindset, he'd be unstoppable. And the Alex mindset was just out of sight from day one.
I wish I had, tell the truth, I wish I had more support. I don't mean I didn't have support. I did have support, but I think I wish I had like a spokesman on my behalf who guided me better and told me the ropes, because my parents didn't know anything about the system. They thought just because they sent me to the United States, I'll be taken care of. But I feel in some cases I was, I wouldn't say taken advantage of, but because I didn't know the situation, I didn't get as much out of it as I could. And there were people that came along the way. They were professing to represent my interest, but how would I know as a kid?
You couldn't know. You know what I mean? You couldn't know. It's something that we could experience and look back to now and be like, wow, you know what I mean? This person came with the right energy, with the right interest. But who knows? Who knows what would have happened had you followed their word? It would have changed. The whole course of history could have changed.
What I say, if I had Glenn in my life then as my agent, quote unquote, What would I be now, Glenn?
Well, I don't know, but I could tell you, you would have been working even a lot harder, and you would have been motivated more to win. The will to win, I would have instilled that inside of you. I'll tell you that now.
But it's incredible how little encouragement we need, brothers and sisters, and how even less of it we get. And I'm thankful for all the encouragement that you give me on a daily basis. And it's amazing that this sort of fellowship, this partnership, and this mentorship, how important it's in development of children. That's why, as a parent, you have foremost role to help your children to grow into men, like especially boys and grow into men. Rom, what is the most adverse thing you've done? Like what happened to you in your time in high school? Like what was the most challenging thing that you had to overcome? Like, and I don't mean like basketball and developing skills and getting up early and running and jumping and whatever it is. But what's maybe socially, maybe mentally, maybe spiritually, what was the most difficult part?
Well, like I told you, right? I was playing for Sun Youth, and I went there on a weekend visit, and I just stayed. So I'm there. I have no money, and I packed for a weekend. So I got two pairs of pants. You know what I mean? I got one pair of shoes that I wore there that end up being my practice shoes, that end up being my game shoes, and I had two outfits. So the first year was kind of rough. You know what I mean? The American kids gonna get on you like, yo, my man, you wore that. You know what I mean? And you know, this is the only guy I know. He playing in forces because it was Air Force Ones.
Yeah,
I'm playing in them. You know what I mean? But honestly, I can't even. I didn't take it that way, so I can't even classify it as adversity because I took it all as one thing. I took it all as, hey, this is part of your path, man. This is where you're going. Take it. They laughing, laugh with them because you're gonna remember this. You know what I mean? Because this is on your road to where you're going. So really, the hungry days, the no money days, the getting my game right days, I took them all. I loved it all. It wasn't adversity at all, man. It was family. It was love.
Yeah, champ. You know, tough times don't last, but tough men do. And you're a prime example of that because after the career had ended, you still became successful in all other endeavors that you do. Tell me, what are you doing today?
What am I doing today? What am I not doing today? Obviously, I'm an author. I wrote a book called The Humble Hustler. Released about a year ago. I'm a restaurant owner, Jamrock Restaurant, and I'm a barbershop owner and barber at the same time. Honestly, if you put it in front of me and you tell me there's a possibility for me to do something, or you tell me I can't do something, that's what I'm about. I really don't have a career. I'm all over the place. Whatever. If I see something in a dream, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do it.
Well, to be fair, okay, it's the disclosure. So me and Rom were connected a few years ago. We had this period of time where we were separated because of life. And now, you know, that's the best Jamaican restaurant and the healthiest, I also believe. The food is not greasy at all. It's delicious. The chicken wings, either the best chicken wings that, Glenn, we got to go have those chicken wings again. They're the best chicken wings in the world by far. I don't know what kind of love you put in them, Rome, but they're delicious. And your restaurant is amazing. I really love coming in there. And it's kind of killing two birds with one stone. I go get my hair cut there every few weeks, and I definitely get my meal there every few weeks.
It's actually right next door, so it's perfect. You know, the geographically is perfect. Right there, boom, you have the restaurant. Next door right there, that's the barbershop.
And it's right in the heart of Langoy, so just across the bridge. Chateauguay, sorry. Yeah. I meant Chateauguay. Anything South Shore is like, might as well be Africa to me, right? A restaurant is really nice inside, really friendly. Like I said, the food is so good. And I don't know who your cooks are, But it's the best food that I had in such a long time in terms of, and I love Jamaican food. Shout out to D. Reed. He was my first introduction to Jamaican food and patties and rotis and everything else. And it's your place. Your food is so good, and I really, really enjoy going there.
Thank
But
you, my brother.
you're also a professional when it comes to cutting my hair. Brothers and sisters, everything you see on my head every time I'm here, it's his work. So if you don't like it, you can hate on him, not on me. But he's really good. He's amazing. And you're also working with, who you working with?
Oh, I work with Greg. Greg is the barber that taught me how to cut hair. Yeah.
And Greg, we also play
Gerald
basketball with.
Played with us at Sun Youth. He was also a one of Stanley's guys. Greg has been my friend since I was, probably 10, 11 years old. That's a brother. You know what I mean? That's a brother. Went to high school with me in Youngstown, matter of fact. You know what I mean? When we both left together. So, yeah, I keep it all in the family, man. We go hard.
And you, big fella, after your basketball days were over, you have some things to say, too. You were in many movies and traveling around the world, got married, had a little girl.
Yeah, I had some adventures. What I actually want to circle back to. I want to circle back to. I like the conversation about how glamorous the life looks, and especially, as a matter of fact, the reason. I'm glad you brought it up. What we do now is, I don't consider it to be hard in any way, due to the experiences I had in life. It could be. I'm not saying it's super easy, and sometimes the hard and adversity is not necessarily a physical one, but physically, everything I do now is a walk in the park compared to what I went through. And you think like, okay, he goes to United States, he plays basketball, it's so glamorous. Okay, my experience, most amazing people I met. And I will start with high school. Most amazing people, classmates, teachers, the whole community in the Cardinal O'Hara, that was a superb experience, 10 out of 10. And I hated high school before I came there. Like, I just hated the whole structure of school, not from the discipline perspective, but I just didn't like what I was learning in schools in general. But it seems like the curriculum there was designed and set up in the way where they got me actually interested in it. So I had an amazing high school experience, but to say it was easy, it wasn't. I had to go through 3 different families in my senior year in high school. I lived at the rectory down the street, mile down the way, because I couldn't live on my own. Before that, you need to have a guardianship to go to high school, like you said. But I lived on my own, sort of. At the rectory that was designed for like 20 or 30 priests. So I kind of had my own apartment, had my own bathroom, had and I had sort of already this exposure to have my own responsibilities, like cook for myself, feed myself, take care of my own self. Nobody would wake you up in the morning and all that stuff. And more than that, I would actually have to work preseason, make some money, hopefully it would be left over to get me through the year to buy lunches and all that stuff. And it didn't. And obviously it didn't. So true story, I would go, like at one point I would run out of the money I made in preseason because once you start training, you have no time. You have no time. At the lunchtime, I would go between the tables and I would ask kids for loose change so I can buy hot dogs and cheese fries.
Wow.
That was my staple. Well, that's what they served at the cafeteria back then. There was no other. Well, maybe pizza or something like this. And that was literally sort of my routine till the lunch ladies figured out what I'm doing and they start giving me food for free. They start sneaking it for free. So that's a survival story. So when people think like, well, it's such a glamorous story and like, well, where are your parents? Well, my parents are in Canada. I don't have a smartphone. There's no email. There's no WhatsApp. You can just go and pick up the phone and call them and like, okay, I'm hungry. And even if you do, like, what do you tell them? I'm starving. I'm begging for food. At the time, I didn't comprehend that. Like, like now I'm a parent. I'm like, well, I would never do this to my child. But again, you cannot compare apples and oranges. My parents grew up in Soviet Union and they had no understanding of what's going on in United States, thinking maybe that's I'm being taken care of, and I could have been my own spokesman in this case.
At the same time, it's your own survival skills that are kicking in, that are getting groomed and coming together. You know what I mean? You had to figure that out. When you brought up, the hungry times, I thought of, yeah, for sure. We had no money. I heard somebody, the person I was living with, his nephew was living with us, and when you show up to the cash, to get your lunch, you have to say a number. If you say the right number, it automatically got you in the free lunch category, and your fee was waived. So I had to memorize that number, and I was just like, I just repeated that number like, oh man, I heard him say 188-574, 188-574, and I just walked, and then they put it together like, all right, so they just put me on the free lunch, and then you're talking to certain people in the school, and certain people have jobs at McDonald's and stuff like that. So hey, friends, boom, boom, boom. I go up to the, go to the counter and, oh my God, that's Romy. All right, hold on. And Joe, give him $1 to give us food for days. So the community got us through. So we can't look at it as hardship. We got to look at it as this is what molded you into the tough man that you are now.
And that's exactly the point. So that's why I always started the show. We started the show with the word gratitude, not regret. And we're not saying like, oh my God, look at this. My story is so tough and I'm poor me. I'm not saying this. This is what shaped me to do things that I do now. And that's why I'm able to share my discernment skills with you today, because I went through it. Matter of fact, my very first experience, I went to Oak Hill Academy for like a month and a half. I had zero English and my anemia kicked in. And I couldn't really actually keep up with the amount of pressure that was there. So they sent me back, and that's when I met you at Sun Youth. And next year I went to O'Hara. That's but when I was there, I developed a very nice skill, because zero English, but I learned to read people's body language. So now when people try to tell me who they are, they don't really need to, because their body tells me everything, So the energy, the way they go about what they say, how they say it, like you don't even need to hear the words anymore. So that was the most amazing skill for me that I learned in terms of survival, is to be able to read people's intentions and energies. And even though like once you in this place, like when I went to college, I felt that I was surrounded by people that not necessarily genuinely always had my best interest in mind, but still I've learned a lot of things from that, because now I'm like, well, there are going to be very little people in your world that genuinely have your interest in mind. Like I know Glenn Herring has my 100% interest in mind, but I have a 30-year relationship with this man. And yeah, Glenn.
Yeah, always remember something I've taught you, champ. It's no matter what happens in life, you're going to be okay. And that thinking is derived from realizing that as a man goes through life, he stands on his own 2 feet, okay? He looks in the mirror and say, that's the man he's going to trust no matter what. I've been through things in my life too. I learned that the hard way, but the hard way is the best way. And then you make that connection, and then what you can do is tell other people about that. It's very motivating sitting here and listening to men who've gone through adversity to win at this beautiful and amazing game of life, and take things, adversity, things they learned from the adversities that they had when they were younger, and apply that will to win in the modern day, and watch men grow up and succeed and do well for themselves and become leaders in the family, in the community, and so forth, to be able to score for themselves and make money, and to derive their value in society. It's very motivating, and I have to tell you, I thank you for having me here listening to this today.
Oh, Glenn, thank you for always being here. You like the picture that I showed you. I wish I had a picture with you from 30 years ago. You've been my mentor since then. I remember him coming to me. He was like, "No, you're doing the triceps wrong. Here, you pushing it with your whole body. No, isolate, do no whatever it was." I remember Glenn that day. I remember specifically that day that I came in home, take that picture. It was winter. It was cold. I used to walk from Shevchenko all the way up early. We still lived on Early Street in
2
the
miles
snow.
away.
Yeah, yeah, and I would walk late at night too. Like I come to the gym like at 11 o'clock to train. So there was something to be said for discipline in this whole thing. Like I think that's the greatest thing that I've learned is discipline and commitment. And like you said, what separates you from the guy next to you, it's not how much he works, it's how much you work. And when even if okay, if you work 2,000 shots a day, but then you stop for a week, then you have to start from scratch. It's every day. It's an everyday grind.
Yeah.
It's everyday grind. So tell me about college career, because you had a pretty nice college career for a while, and that's how actually we connected. I watched some of the tapes. What do they call it? Pre-game tapes. What do they call them?
Scout report.
Scout reports. We watched some scout reports. At St. Joseph, and I'm like, that's Rome. That's how I realized that you were somewhere in Providence.
Yeah, I knew you were in Philadelphia because I remember I used to listen to you. You used to talk, and you'd be like, I gotta go to Philly. You know what I mean? I gotta go here. I gotta go there. And I was like, yo, why you always going to Philly? Why is he going to Philly? You know what I mean? I think he has a school. Man. So I'm doing my thing in Youngstown. And then when we signed the university, I'm like, okay, we play Villanova. So maybe that's there. Villanova's in Philly. I'm like, nah, he's not there. He's not there. But I'm like, he used to mention St. Joe's. Hey, where's St. Joe's? That's in Philly. And that year, I think you guys were #1 in the nation. And I started paying attention. I caught one game on TV, and I saw my man 7 foot something with braids in his hair, running like a gazelle. I said, there he go. He made it. Look at him. He's there. All right, he's there. Well, I'm here. I didn't know if you saw me, but I saw you. You know what I mean? We couldn't communicate at the time, but that's definitely how, you know what I mean? I remembered, I was like, it's Philly. There's a school in Philly. I ran through the roster of every school in Philly, Drexel, all of them, and I couldn't find you. And then St. Joseph kicked in.
Yeah, that's before my braids time, or after my braids time, actually. That's my braids time.
There you go. Look at it, David West. You going at it with a monster right there.
Yeah, I went for a couple of months. That guy I played in Philly, actually, the one on the left, that's the, I forgot his name. Most of the guys I played with and end up in NBA, and I gave him the run. And look, I think they called a foul on the one on the left. There's no way I touched him, but he's definitely kicked me in the face. Look at it. Like that was like I'm kissing his hand. That's some gay pride stuff for you.
You know the game. They teach it. You know what I mean? Offhand is your space.
Yeah, that's it. But I had fun in St. Joseph. It was hard work. I mean, some people say I should have went somewhere else. But to tell the truth, you can never do shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? You were placed there for a reason, and you made choices as well. What you learn, like I said, and you cannot trade this for anything.
Some people go through a lifetime doing the shoulda, woulda, coulda, and it gets them nowhere. We don't have time for that. I had a great time. It was rough. It was physically the hardest thing I've ever done to this day.
Always hungry, always sleepy.
Oh, man. And you got to go to school. You got to figure it out. You got to go to class. You know what I mean? I don't know if y'all had to go to class, but we had to go to class. And I always felt like everybody else that was playing was going through a different situation. I felt like the guys at Connecticut had it good. I felt like, you know what I mean? Like wherever I saw it was like, man, this got to be better than this. I think we're at the worst place.
Yeah, it's how I've always been. I agree, actually. As a matter of fact, you're right. My first year, I was so scared because the freshman year was like, I got to do good. I got to do good in school. I didn't sleep at all. My English wasn't, okay, it's not that it's good now, but but back then I had very difficult time with writing and reading and all that stuff. So I had I was so scared that I'm going to fail because you have to maintain GPA, right, grade point average, and I put so much effort into school, and then after first year, I had like a 3.5 grade point. I was like, oh my god, I did so good.
Wow.
So the sophomore year, I stopped going to class.
Oh man.
and then I got in trouble a bit. But my sophomore year, I was redshirted, so I didn't really care. But I trained so much. I went to practice. I went to the second practice, and in between, I skipped class. And that's like after sophomore year, I could have probably went to NBA, even though I didn't play, because I went to Europe and they started recruiting me, and I'm like, no. I'm going back to college, and next year I get hurt. I hurt my back.
What year was your sophomore year?
2000, 99, 2000.
Okay, 99, 2000. That was my freshman year.
Yeah. So my sophomore year was your freshman year.
Okay.
And then that's all I remember, being always hungry and always tired. And you're still trying to do like if I had Glenn would have whooped my ass and be like, okay, focus, stop chasing girls, stop trying to work, going out, stop doing this, just focus on this, focus on the score. You will get the girls. And I kind of did that, but still, like you kind of like you're going through emotions, and you young buck, and you have all this testosterone running through your thing, and you like all those girls in college and all that stuff. So it was a bit of a distraction here and there, but I remember still focusing mostly on sports. But I wouldn't say I was the most disciplined person, but I definitely was the most. I've worked really, really, really hard. I wish I put in more discipline in terms of resting better and sleeping better, for sure. And I can't take that away from this. Long story short, and that's the conversation I really wanted to have, and Glenn, you're welcome to take advantage of this. You go there and they're like, okay, speaking of education, it's like, well, you're going to work that hard. We're going to make that much money off you, because schools make millions, but you're not going to get paid because of NCAA regulations.
Not only you're not going to get paid, you're limited on how many hours you can work during the off season, because you can only make this amount. You can't work nowhere and make more money than that.
So till this day, they're still arguing that the college players should get paid because schools make millions. They make millions off advertising. Like St. Joseph grown like 10 times in terms of the student body size, everything, like the territory. They bought they bought Episcopal High School next to it, expanded the campus into that and all that stuff. Like they made tons of money, and the college players like always hungry. And they're like, oh, education. And how many of college players actually take advantage of the education? Like, especially when you come down to like a football program, the amount of graduation rate is like 30% or even less, or something ridiculous like this.
It's definitely a lose. You're entering a situation where you're at a disadvantage as a college athlete. Is what it is. I still would have done it. Knowing what I know now, I know I still would have done it, because that's what I wanted to do. But knowing now, you're basically walking into, it's life, man. You're walking into a situation where, hey, here we are. Here's the relationship. The nature of this relationship is you come here, we take advantage of you. This is what it is. If you're lucky and fortunate and work hard enough, you're going to leave here and be able to do something for yourself. If not, when your years is up, we're kicking you back to the streets, and you will have wasted your time. And it's up to you.
If you had a kid going to college right now, how would you make his experience different? What would you tell him? How would you manage that relationship between your child and the institution?
If I had a kid playing college ball right now, first of all, I would definitely be involved in the recruiting and make sure, I don't care, legal, illegal, certain things got to be taken care of more than the scholarship. That's for one. Second, I would be in his ear and I would tell him, make friends, build relationships. Don't just hang with the basketball guys, because you're at that school. That school has there's somebody, that's going to graduate from that school that's going to go into Congress, Senate, this, that. That's what the school is about. That's what the alumni is about. I didn't know it at the time. You know what I mean? Like, Notre Dame was recruiting me, and I was like, I don't know. It didn't really speak to me, And once I signed to Providence, my AU coach then told me, like, it's not everybody that gets to go to Notre Dame and join that alumni. You know what I mean? You probably would have made it to the league just because there's an alum that owns a team that just looks out for their own. And that alum is a stronger alum. So, when you choose your university, you're choosing who you want to rub shoulders with. So I would make sure, like, I would add that to the plate so that my child would know, like, it's more than one dimension into choosing the school. Like, look at it wider. Don't just think ball, and I'm going for this, and this is this or nothing. Go about it wider. You know what I mean? Enjoy more of a spectrum of what's in the school for you, and that'll fall into place if it's there for you.
You seem to be alluding to networking.
Absolutely.
Your network will establish your net worth. Respect is something that's earned, not given. And you earn the respect by going through the adversity, through difficult times. Now, pro sports is a business above anything else. It's still a business.
Big business.
Now, going to college, that's like your learning period to see if you have what it takes to get you into the big business. And college, you were saying, you're not allowed to work or only work a certain amount of hours. You don't get paid, yet the schools get paid fortunes. And yes, because that is the business, and the business of sports and education together. So that's the good thing about it. You were saying that if you had a son, you would focus on both of those, the sports and the networking, rubbing elbows with the certain people that help your chance of success in the future outside the game that you love to do.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is very, very important. And, well, that's about it, yeah.
Glenn,
Good on to you.
How do you feel about breads and circuses altogether? Like, obviously now, like, I understand when we played 9/11 happened, and I had all kinds of, what are they called? Reporters coming up to me and like talking about it wasn't not during 9/11, but in the NCAA tournament. That's when the U.S. will go into Iraq, and because I'm Russian with the Russian last name, and I went through some adversity growing up. They're like, "Oh, how do you feel about this and that?" And now I understand what they want to try to tell me is like, terrorist this, terrorist that. And I didn't actually say that. I was like, war is bad. So I said, they're like, okay, next, this is not the right candidate. Let's ask somebody else. And now I understand this whole thing with bread and circuses, that sports were designed to actually take your mind off the political things and economical things, and for the people to rally up against each other using the favorite sports team. Now, has something changed in sports merged with politics, and we have conscientious objectors like Kaepernick and people kneeling down against U.S. When the anthem is played, and they make political statements that actually bring attention to the social and political issues of today versus taking your attention off it. And including as recently all these pride events where the people were, they were making hockey teams wearing pride jerseys, which actually has stopped because players start to protest against it. And again, it's an encroachment of social issues and political issues onto the sports. But when we played, sports was such a huge part of it, and there was no Facebooks, there were no Instagrams, so like. I'm sure the dunks that you had and other things, they would be in memories, stuck in memories of TikToks forever because they were classics. And nowadays, that's another tool in a bag of tricks for the recruitment and for the players to have and all that stuff. So it's still a big entertainment component in it, but I feel less excited about sports than I ever did in my life. And I played sports my whole life. I still do sports. I still train. I go to the gym. I do martial arts. I box. I like to spar and all that stuff. But watching sports on TV lost all of the appeal to me.
Can you elaborate on why that is? Because I share the sentiment, but I'd like to know, and I really can't explain why. I talk about it in a barbershop, but I can't explain why.
Well, I think it's clear what I just said. It became way too political. It took away the spirit of competition. And also for me, I also understand the game behind the game. The nature of competition is not there. I know everything is an illusion. I think it's also fake. Everything's sort of like everybody knows who's going to win ahead of time. Everybody, like, it's all the championships already set up because it is a big business. The league organizes, okay, this year this team's going to win. Next year this team's going to win. I mean, hypothetically, but you've seen the games where for a fact refs had something to do with that, even in college and all this other stuff. It's no longer a pure competition, especially with all the stuff that's happening with transgender sports and men competing in women's things. That's another thing. It just became a circus. I no longer see competition between men who's the best. It's just a business or some kind of political arm, some kind of political outlet for another propaganda source for the people. It's no longer this pure, like when you and me played, we would go to the gym or to the playground, and it's really going at it.
Compete
all day long.
It was straight blind competition. Like we saw nothing else. Tunnel vision.
And there was no politics involved.
No, we didn't know the politics. For sure there was politics involved. We just didn't know it. Now as grown, we're grown, and the politics is in our faces, in our daily lives. And you're in this industry where you hear all the news, you hear everything of what's going on. So I think it makes you kind of jaded to watch just a regular game when there's nothing regular about it.
Do you still watch basketball specifically?
No. I only watch LeBron. I watch LeBron. Anytime I get to watch LeBron, I watch him.
Is it because he's from Ohio?
Absolutely. LeBron is from the 330. I didn't play high school same time as LeBron. I left high school 1 year, and the following year LeBron came into high school. It's about Youngstown and Akron are about 35, 40 minutes away. So I consider him being from the same, I consider him being from the crib. Like we don't make no distinction. Youngstown, Akron, Warren, Massillon, Canton. It's kind of like a one zone. You know what I mean? Cleveland is a bigger zone, but that is like the 330 area. So I consider him like an acquaintance. I watch him. As long as he'll play, I'll watch him. What he's done is amazing, so I watch him.
I think that's when I stopped watching sports, basketball specifically too, when all the people that I played with stopped playing. They retired, and then I'm like, okay, that's it. And I retired sports too.
Yeah, that's it. He's the last one. He's the last one for me.
Is he the greatest?
It's a good question. I feel like I've answered that question so many times. I don't think he's the greatest. I think he's, how can I say this? People say, oh, is he the best? Is he the greatest? Is he this? Is he that? What makes him great is he's so much out of every category. He's something that we've never seen before. The body size that he has, the skill or lack thereof in some parts that he has, his passing ability, his athletic ability, put in one, we've never seen. He's a 1-to-1. You know what I mean? Jordan was a 1-to-1. LeBron is a 1-to-1. I think we got to leave it at that. I don't think we could cross generations. Jordan obviously did some amazing things in an amazing era where basketball shaped our mentality. You know what I mean? It was Jordan.
Jordan was also a great businessman. Still is.
Absolutely. Still is. You know what I mean? Just like before that, there was Kareem. And before that, for me, it was Magic. You know what I mean?
Dr. J.
Come on. Like it goes in you know, it goes like but LeBron, I don't think we've never seen it. We'll never see that. We'll never see that.
They ask that same question in all different types of sports. Who is the GOAT, the greatest of all time?
Yeah.
And I always say, no, it's the greatest of their time. Because you have to compare apples with apples. And the times change. You know, the drugs in the game, the sports, you know, the training, the knowledge about nutrition, all that it completely changes all the time. Could be even, if you want to talk about basketball, it could even be the quality of the running shoes. You know, all these little things together, they're so minute, but you add them up together and they make the difference. So you can never say the GOAT, the greatest of all time. It's the greatest of that time.
And not only that, the way the game is officiated changes.
The rules have changed a bit.
Exactly. It changes the outcome of your production. And the comparison, which I feel is unfair, they play separate positions, which nobody acknowledges. People want, and that's why I feel LeBron is great, because as a small forward, he does things that a two guard is more in charge of doing, but he doesn't do it enough. You know what I mean? He doesn't create his own shot enough and take the last shot. I'm like, yeah, he's a small forward. You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, he confuses you because he can play some of the two. He can play some of the four. He does play some of the point. He does. So that's, you know what I mean? I just leave it at that. He's done some amazing things that I really enjoyed watching. Michael Jordan was out of this world, and LeBron is right there with him. I don't think it's right
Kobe.
to put them up. Come on, man. It's a savage, man.
I just want to say one thing that's very, very important.
Trying to rank them is unfair to all of them, by the way.
I agree.
It also depends on the team, right? Are those guys playing with you or maybe against you, not knowing the coaching of the team? Everything has to come together at the right time for the best players to shine the most.
Yeah.
Team is TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more. Okay? So if the team is playing at their optimum level and everybody is doing more, then the greatest at that time is going to shine even more.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. You guys, I could just listen to you talk nonstop. You know, my biggest adversity was, and it's like, okay, we'll finish up soon. There's two questions I want to ask you regarding your book, actually. It's an opportunity cost. It's a really good chapter. Like, what would you spend your time other than, right? Like, if you invested into basketball and into training, let's say, you know, instead of going to the gym, how else can you spend this time? You can either go rest, or you can go to the club, see some girls. Right?
Whatever you choose to do, it has a cost.
It has a cost.
It has a cost. So, and we know, because we've been playing basketball so early, our opportunity cost started very early. The average kid who's in high school, opportunity cost doesn't start for him until summer of his 16-year-old birthday. Well, okay, now you're allowed to work. So now instead of working, you know, what are you doing? You want to hang out? All right. So playing video games, it has a cost, because you could have a newspaper route. You could be doing this. You could be doing that. So that's what I mean when I say opportunity cost. We made a commitment to playing the game very early on. So our opportunity cost has been going up all the way through. You know what I mean? Till it's like, all right, here we are. We're at this gate now. You know what I mean? Do we get in? Do we make money playing basketball? What do we do? Because we've invested countless summers and years of not earning money, putting in time in this gym.
And also, I think what's amazing about sports, one thing I've learned and what taught me the greatest lesson in why I refer to everybody brothers and sisters, not just because I want to be a righteous man and you're all my family, but in sports, I really didn't just learn about team together. What'd you say? Everyone achieves more, but I also learned about camaraderie and brotherhood. I learned about brotherhood and I realized that we are all together in it. It doesn't matter. Sometimes I was the only white guy in the gym. It's true. Like when I played in Syracuse in them summer leagues, that happened. But I didn't feel in any disadvantage. In Catholic League, there was definitely black people on teams and in the audience and all that stuff, but it was predominantly, white Caucasian population.
Right.
But I often was being cheered against. Like there's a news article I can show you if you don't believe me. It says right there that the kids would chant "USA, USA, who won the Cold War," and they would scream. Here's another article. They would scream and compare me to Boris Yeltsin, and all of a sudden try to get me off the game. So I mean, it's fun. Like I didn't take it seriously. I knew what they were trying to do. They didn't actually they're just trying to get me off my game. They didn't trying to hurt me, hurt my feelings. Nowadays, it's actually illegal to do so because it's a hate speech. And it's also, you cannot be proud of USA because, the USA definitely has some adverse issues to be addressed, but you should be proud of your country regardless. But like I said, there's one thing I've learned, that camaraderie, that the thing that you learn that we're all the same. We just as hungry, we just as needy, but we just as driven, we just as passionate, we just as skillful, we just as supportive.
That's probably the only thing the thing I miss the most from the time playing is that, you know what I mean? You're basically, you get on the court versus another team that's just as hungry as you, that's has practiced just as hard as you, and a lot of times, we're all getting recruited to the same programs. So skill level wise, we're all kind of evenly matched. Your bond with that man that you're in the huddle with is what makes the difference. If your bond is tighter, if you guys have a tighter bond compared to the opposite team, sometimes that might just be it. That might be the difference maker. Because teams were so evenly matched. Like the Big East, when I played in the Big East, it was crazy. There was no nights off. Who was your weakest matchup?
There isn't.
You know what I mean? So it was like, if you don't, hey, I need to know when I say this, boom, you behind me, you got me covered. I'm sending him baseline, you got me covered. Don't let him blow by me and dunk on me. And, and it's like, I'm going to be there. Why? Because Rome's my brother. I ain't going to let that happen to him. Boom. And somebody's going to help me. And so on and so on. Like, you know that. Yeah, I was number one in the nation.
Yeah, that's true. I remember that. Glenn, did you know I was ranked number one in the nation with this guy? Do you know who this guy is?
No.
That's Jameer Nelson. He had a long, long career. He played Orlando. Where else? Did he play Orlando the whole time?
Orlando. That's where I remember him from. I feel like he played somewhere else also. I think National Player of the Year. Is that right?
He was. Is in college at least. This is his freshman year, I believe. Yeah, that's a freshman year. That's pretty actually impressive. We had a really good team, and we were ranked number one in preseason the following year. But we were too cocky, and we didn't actually we didn't achieve much that year. But Rom, it's been great to have you here. You are a regular guest and co-host here on Mondays. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, and thank you for sharing your life skills and things that you can bring to the table and help us discern and help us to understand that it's not just me and Glenn here ranting about things, but there's other people that like us, and we say things that other people think. Isn't it?
Absolutely, man. I'm grateful for you guys allowing me to be on this platform with y'all. You know what I mean? I bring a different perspective. This is the book, you know what I mean? The Humble Hustler, where hustling and entrepreneurship coincides. You get a chance. You can pick it up at thehumblehustler.com. If you're ever in the area, come by the restaurant. If you need a haircut, whatever, come see me, come talk to me. We're good people, man. We can talk about anything.
Glenn, you got anything to add before we go?
Of course. One last very important thing. There's a difference between a sport and a game. You see, that was a game of basketball, a game of football, a game of hockey. You know, everything is game. Are you game? Are you ready? You game, you know, to fight this, that. The sport is what you do and how you push yourself, all the efforts and physical conditioning and everything you do to be the best at that game. That is the sport. Okay? That's what's really, really important. So you take what you learned by doing your sport, you doing everything you can for you, and you apply that into life after the game, after the lights are out, the fans are gone, the lights are out, everything is finished. You have to get into the game of life by being good, really good at taking care of yourself, which is the real sport. Okay? Like when I used to talk about bodybuilding, you're on stage, for example. That's a show. The sport is when you're in the gym. You're training, you're outside the gym, you're dieting, people are going out, but you got to get X amount of sleep, you got to wake up early, you got to do cardio. That's the sport. The sport is you challenging yourself. You get better at your sport, and then you enjoy it in this beautiful game of life.
Knowledge.
Life is a game. Enjoy it, brothers and sisters. That's one thing that I've learned from actually sports that I trying to now go across all my life is don't forget to play. Come here not only for work and discipline, it's still joy. Find joy in life for what you do. Like what we do here, I consider a hobby. And no matter how hard I work, it's a game to me. But it doesn't mean that I just play, but I also do sport. There's a lot of work that goes on the back end of this that you guys don't see for us to be able to provide you with all this content that we put out on daily basis. And we are grateful again to you that you're tuning in, subscribing, and sharing. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for tuning in to Alex Saz Show, and we'll see you on the next one.